Hello again, Stoveminders. Perhaps you were like me and you thought the stove was cooling down, the market in general was slowing down, but no. No, this past week they turned that knob up back to about that mid to high heat. The off season has been moving at a nice steady pace. Great stuff. Before I get into all of it, I just want to give a shout out to Winky, to the Cubules, the nascent Chicago Cubs Kansas City Royals broship, and to all the Dodgers thoughts out there. And boy, are there a lot of hoes wearing Dodgers hats. But hey, it's LA. What can you do? Well, the biggest move of this past week is a trade. Yes, I love it. I've been waiting for a nice good trade for a few weeks. It's not one of the big name trades that have been bandied about in rumors for this whole winter. You know, your Lindors, your Betts, your Price. Is he going to be traded? Is Bryant going to be traded? Is Arenado going to be traded? Unfortunately, it's not one of these superstars, but it is a consequential trade that does benefit both teams in a way. I'm talking about the Tampa Bay Rays and the St. Louis Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals have been rather quiet this offseason. They did sign Korean reliever Kwang Hyun Kim, which is a nice add to the bullpen, but they've been very stable compared to these other NL Central contenders. Whether it be the Reds continuing to add pieces and looking like a serious team now, or the Brewers with their very high turnover of players, or even the Cubs, who I understand haven't really done anything but have just been shrouded in rumors and hearsay and all this bullshit. But now the Cardinals have made quite a play. They've acquired pitching prospect Matthew Liberatore and a low-level minor league catcher from the Rays in exchange for Jose Martinez, outfield prospect Randy Arozarena, and both teams also exchanged competitive balance draft picks. So who is this Liberatore character? He's the number 41 prospect in all of baseball according to MLB Pipeline. He was number 4 in the Rays system. He'll now be number 3 for the Cardinals. Liberatore was a first-round pick in 2018. Was selected straight out of his Arizona high school. And after posting excellent numbers in rookie ball that year, in 2019 he moved up to Class A, where he threw 78 plus innings, struck out 76, had an ERA of 3.1 and a whip of 1.289. Not excellent, but not bad either. Well, Liberatore is just 20 years old, and the scouting report on him is this is a guy with a lot of stuff. He's got really good stuff. In particular, his curveball is already considered really good. MLB scouts use that strange 20 to 80 scale for grading players' skills and pitches. Liberatore's curveball is 60. He has 2 other pitches that apparently can get to 60, and all in all, he has a 4-pitch arsenal. So, good potential there for the left-hander. His estimated time of arrival into the major leagues is 2021, which would mean he'd have to pitch in AA and probably also AAA this upcoming season and do well enough to arrive in the majors at the age of 22. Really, faster the better for the Cardinals. They have a crop of exciting young pitchers already in the majors. Alex Reyes, Dakota Hudson, Jack Flaherty. To add Matt Liberatore to that is just great news. And as I said, he's now their number 3 prospect. So a nice add for the future for the Cardinals, though they did have to trade off a bit of their present to get him. But it was from a position where they are well endowed, and that is the outfield. The Cardinals can boast Harrison Bader, Dexter Fowler, Maple Ridge, British Columbia's very own Tyler O'Neill, not to mention sophomore Lane Thomas, and utility man Yairo Munoz, and their top prospect Dylan Carlson is also an outfielder, and Carlson made it to AAA last year. He did very well in limited action. A lot of people are saying, well, MLB Pipeline is saying that He'll be in the majors next season, so basically they have way too many outfielders. Why not trade a few of them to get a really good pitching prospect now that a lot of their old pitching prospects are making it to the majors? So it makes sense, but what does it mean for the Rays? Well, Jose Martinez, who is a first baseman / corner outfielder, has 3 and a little bit plus seasons of experience under his belt. He's a career .298 hitter, .363 on base, .458 slugging, a .119 OPS plus. Great numbers so far. He was a 300 plus hitter in 2017 and 18, but this past season was a bit of a down year for Martinez. He hit just .269 with an OPS of .751, which is less than the 800 plus he had the previous 2 years. Had just 25 extra base hits in 128 games, but he is considered a very good contact hitter. However, he's a really, really bad outfielder and below average first baseman too. So Martinez is looking like a designated hitter candidate, and the Rays could definitely find a place for him despite having quite a deep and versatile roster themselves. I'll get to that in a second. Martinez should be an inspiration to anybody who's working hard at something and has maybe not gotten to the level they expected to be at the age they're at. After years of toiling in the minors and various foreign leagues, Martinez finally made it to the majors at the age of 27, and thereafter has just torn it up. And now he's 31 years old, but he's still under team control for 3 more years via arbitration, which is great news for the Rays, a very cash-conscious organization. J-Mart, though, is one of many potential outfielders / first baseman / designated hitters that the Rays have. Right now, their ideal outfield is looking like Austin Meadows in left, Kevin Kiermaier in center, and newcomer Hunter Renfroe in right field, who they got in that Tommy Pham trade. And then at first base, could be Ji-Man Choi, and that means a designated hitter spot would be open for Jose Martinez. But then they also have Yoshitomo Tsutsugo, who just came over from Japan. He's an outfielder / first baseman, so manager Kevin Cash is going to have to do a lot of shuffling of the deck to find a room for these guys. Kiermaier kind of stands out because he's easily the worst bat, but he's also a really good glove. I'm happy I don't have to make the day-by-day decisions on that lineup, but no matter how they swing it, they'll be swinging because there's a lot of pretty good bats in that lineup. I mean, all those guys I just mentioned are above average to really good hitters, except for Kiermaier. But then they also have Yandy Diaz. They have Brandon Lowe. Willie Adames is coming off a season where he had 20 home runs. That's a really good lineup for the Rays are building over there. Yeah, and I like this addition of Jose Martinez. He's been mostly consistent, and even his down year, he was hitting .269. Good stuff. Well, there was a couple more pieces moving in this trade. The Cardinals got a catcher named Edgardo Rodriguez, a 19-year-old from Venezuela. Very young, very raw. His minor league experience has been 61 games at the rookie level, but he can hit. He's hit very well at those levels. He's way down there, but doesn't hurt to add a catching prospect, right? Yadier Molina, he's getting old. Meanwhile, the Rays are getting a youngin who is major league ready, and that is another outfielder. Oh my goodness, Randy Arozarena. He made his debut just last season for the Cardinals. Had very limited action in the major leagues, just 23 plate appearances. But that very same year at AAA and AA, he hit .344 with an OPS above 1,000. Whoa. Just tore it up out there. Arozarena can play all across the outfield. He will be 25 years old at the start of next season. The Cuban is under team control through 2025. More great news for the cash-strapped Rays. Arozarena was the Cardinals' number 10 prospect, and now he'll be the Rays' number 12 prospect. Just excellent. The Rays do have a bit of outfield surplus now, as I've already mentioned. I don't know how they'll deal with that, but both these guys are quality players that they received, Martinez and Arozarena. In the short term, I think it's safe to say the Rays won this trade, but we'll see what comes of the Liberator. Because if he can turn into an elite pitcher, I think the Cardinals will be happy with themselves. And I mean, even though they parted with a couple of their outfielders, and even though Marcell Ozuna is still a free agent, so what looked like a ton of surplus is not looking like it anymore, I think they got potentially a really good return. And we'll see what sort of dividends this pays for the Rays as they continue to fight for not just a playoff spot, because I think we can safely say they are a playoff team at this point, but fighting for a little something more. They took the Astros to 5 games in the division series. This is a good team, people. Speaking of playoffs and speaking of postseason success, the Washington Nationals have not been content with honeymooning or having a hangover and say, "Oh, we won the World Series. We don't need to do shit." No, they have been very busy in augmenting their roster, bringing back a lot of pieces from that World Series winning roster. And one of those returners is right-handed reliever Daniel Hudson, who's coming back to the Nationals on a 2-year, $11 million deal. Hudson came to the Nationals via mid-season trade from the Blue Jays, and while he was doing all right with the Jays before that, he just tore it up for the Nats down the stretch. Was really good in the postseason as well. All in all, in 2019, Hudson threw 73 innings, 2.47 ERA, 3.97 FIP, 1.137 WHIP, and a strikeout to walk through 9 ratio of 9-3. Now, his career track record points to more of an average middle reliever kind of guy. Through 10 seasons, Hudson has a 3.83 ERA with a 3.75 FIP, 1.256 WHIP, 8-3 strikeout to walk through 9 ratio. But hey, not bad numbers. Not bad numbers at all. It gives them depth, gives them upside if he can do anything close to repeating how he was throwing for the Nats at the end of last year. And this move further bolsters a bullpen that just added Will Harris, who's really good, who has Sean Doolittle closing things, and who, prior to the addition of Hudson in that trade, was really struggling in the regular season. So, a major weakness for Washington. Good on them to address that with another move. Will $5.5 million look like an overpay at some point? Perhaps, but we'll have to see as always. And the Nationals weren't done there yet, no. Coming into the offseason, a sinkhole formed for the Nationals over at first base, with both Matt Adams and Ryan Zimmerman both hitting free agency. Well, the Nats had a lot of depth in other parts of the infield, so when they brought back Howie Kendrick, that was just not a good move offensively, but defensively, Kendrick can play first base. But he's not been a primary first baseman in his career. So what else could they do to add a little bit of a cushion over there at first? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Thames, now a Washington National on a 1-year deal worth $4 million plus an option. Thames has been a consistent hitter the past 3 seasons with the Brewers, a high on-base slugger, who in those 3 years has posted a 241, 343, 504 slash line. And in 2019 with the Brewers, he hit 247 with an 851 OPS, 25 home runs, and 23 doubles. So you know what you're going to get, and you know you're going to get it with Thames. He's a left-handed hitter who is ultimately much, much better against righties and has seen very little action versus left-handers in his career, or at least in his time with the Brewers the past few years. Which isn't exactly a terrible thing because A, right-handers are most pitchers, and B, he won't be expected to shoulder the burden over at first base with Kendrick over there too. And as I said, high on base, high slugging, left-handed hitter. Nice add, and only $4 million for a veteran like that. I like this one for the Nationals. That's more power, more depth, at a lowish cost. At the moment, the Nationals' estimated luxury tax payroll is close to $200 million, which is just a little bit below that luxury tax threshold. But apparently the Nats are still in the running for Donaldson. No, Josh Donaldson, the Rain Man, has not made a decision yet, despite the fact that offers have been tabled by the final 3 teams, And now it looks like two of those teams are not super interested anymore. Well, not to say not super interested, but the Nationals are kind of constrained by cash, and the Minnesota Twins are apparently, according to reports, not confident that they're going to land Donaldson. Not the kind of attitude I like to see from a team that just won 100-plus games, but small market mentality will do that for you. What that means is Donaldson seems likely to land with his old team, the Atlanta Braves, which would also be very consequential considering how exciting that squad is. But nevertheless, a decision has not been made yet. Divisionally, the most active division of this past week has been the National League West. San Diego Padres brought back one of their relievers, right-hander Craig Stammen, on a 2-year, $9 million deal, plus an option. Stammen has spent the past 3 seasons in San Diego. He's thrown 241-plus innings in that time, 3.06 ERA, decent strikeout rate, even though he is susceptible to home runs. In 2019, Stammen threw 82 innings, 3.29 ERA, 4.12 FIP, 1.159 WHIP, 8 strikeouts per 9, and just 1.6 walks per 9. Stammen will be 36 years old. He's sort of a workhorse, long reliever. He does add a good bit of stability and continuity to a Padres bullpen that was solid, if not phenomenal, last season. Good arm to add behind star closer Kirby Yates. The Dads still could use a starter. I felt that at the start of the offseason, and they've really done nothing to address that need. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks also added a reliever, right-hander Hector Rondon, on a 1-year, $3 million deal, plus an option. Rondon, Cubs fans will of course remember, used to be this team's closer way back. Spent the last couple seasons in Houston. He had a good 2018, been a bad 2019. Last season, Rondon threw 60 innings, struck out just 48, 3.71 ERA, but with a FIP above 5. But the good news is that he's been much better than that during the entirety of his career. Rondon, who will be 32, has 7 years of Major League experience, 3.29 ERA and a 3.49 FIP in his lifetime, 1.17 WHIP, and a strikeout to walk through 9 ratio of 9 to 2.7. So actually good for sort of middle reliever, potential setup man. He's also durable. He's never thrown less than 50 innings in a season. He has a heater that tops out at just below 97 miles an hour. It's great news for the Diamondbacks, who don't have a ton of sure options in their pen, a lot of wild cards. You got Archie Bradley, their closer. We know he can pitch at a high level. And then Andrew Chafin is all right. But besides that, I'm not super wild on any of these snake relievers. So bringing in Rondon, who's been consistent and durable, that's a good move for Arizona. And the Dodgers also added somebody. It's right-hander Jimmy Nelson on a 1-year contract worth $1.25 million with an option. Jimmy Nelson, he's been hurt a lot. Since late 2017, he's just been ailing. He missed all of 2018. And then in 2019, still with the Brewers, he threw just 22 innings. He had an ERA over 7, or just under 7, a FIP of 5.80, a WHIP of 1.9. He was bad. And Nelson is a stuffy sort of pitcher. He's a good spin rate, but he's been losing velocity, and his fastball now stands at 93 miles an hour. He's always had command issues, always issued a lot of walks, used to bean a lot of guys. And for a guy who's now 30 years old, who's really a big question mark, I gotta question this addition for the Dodgers. I understand the team is used to having these injury-plagued pitchers like Ryu and Hill and Morrow not too long ago, Alex Wood, Urias as of late. But the thing is all these guys I just mentioned were actually good when they were healthy. Jimmy Nelson has not been good when he was healthy. I'm sure they'll find a place for him somehow, either in the bullpen or as an occasional starter, swingman, whatever. But I just cannot be excited, even in the slightest. It's been a disappointing offseason for the Dodgers. Shifting over to the American League, where a few moves of note went down as well. The Texas Rangers eventually brought back catcher Robinson Chirinos on a 1-year contract worth $6.75 million plus an option. Chirinos was a Texas Ranger from 2013 to 2018, but then he spent last season with the Astros, where he played 114 games, actually a career high for a guy who's mostly been a career backup in his 8-year careers. He only has 2 seasons with 100-plus games. But anyway, in 2019, his longest season to date, Chirinos hit .238, .347, .443 with 40 extra base hits. Those numbers are a bit above his career average, where he's a .236 hitter with a .767 OPS, a .102 OPS plus. And when it comes to catchers, that's sort of the offensive production you'll have to be satisfied for. Chirinos is expected to be the primary catcher down in Texas. Jeff Mathis is coming off a terrible 2019, and their only other option with Major League experience is Jose Trevino, who only has 43 career games in the big leagues. Rangers do have a catching prospect, Sam Huff, their number 2 prospect, but he's 22 years old and he's played as high as Class A advanced. So it's probably going to be a few years before he comes. Chirinos, a nice holdover, at least for 2020. Chirinos' defensive stats aren't very good. He has -8 defensive runs saved in his career and 24% caught stealing rate, also below average. He's also a below average framer. Really the only thing he's good at behind the plate is blocking balls. So not going to be a lot of pass balls and wild pitches down in Arlington. But as I mentioned, a good hitter as far as catchers are concerned, and they're familiar with them. I feel like $6.75 million is a bit of an overpay, but this is the Rangers. They work in mysterious ways. Over on the south side of Chicago, the White Sox are not done yet. No, they've shifted attention to the bullpen, which I was thinking was an area of need. And they've signed a former Chicago Cub, right-hander Steve Cishek. 1 year, $6 million and an option. And you know what? He's worth every penny. The veteran side armor has been pretty good for the Cubs the last 2 seasons. He took a bit of a stumble in 2019, where after 64 innings on the year, he had a .295 ERA but a .454 FIP. He did walk a lot of guys. He averaged 4 per 9 to go with 8 strikeouts per 9, a 1.2 whip. All in all, not awful, but not quite at his career rates. In 10 years, Cishek has a .269 ERA, .322 FIP, 1.151 whip, and strikeout to walk through 9 ratio of 9.5 to 3.4. Good numbers, and just to add, Cishek has been durable as well. He's thrown at least 44 innings each year since 2011. In only 2 seasons has he finished with an ERA above 3. And he also has high leverage experience. He has 132 career saves dating back to when he was a closer for the Marlins and the Mariners. One thing that's really nice about Cishek is opponents have a low hard contact and exit velocity against him. And he's managed less than 1 home run per 9 in the juice ball era. So I loved Cishek. I hated to see him get the Madden treatment where he just constantly gets thrown out in high leverage situations to the point where he just gets fucked. But for the 33-year-old, another nice little payday. Gets to stay in the same place, doesn't have to move his family. And the White Sox are trending up. As far as their bullpen, they got Alex Colomé closing, who was good last year. Aaron Bummer coming off a good year. And they got Cishek behind there too. That's a nice top 3 to their bullpen. And they got Kelvin Herrera, though he was really bad in 2019. But a good ad for the White Sox. And then over in Baltimore, the Orioles did something. they signed shortstop Jose Iglesias to a 1-year contract worth $3 million plus an option. Iglesias is a patient slap hitter. He's got good legs on him too. He'll give you 20 plus doubles, some triples, some steals, and he's a really good defender. In 8 seasons, he has 20 defensive runs saved at shortstop. I mean, that's great. Offensively, 2019 was kind of a career year for him. He hit .288 with the Reds, with a .724 OPS. Not a career year necessarily, but his highest numbers since his All-Star season in 2015. He did hit career highs in home runs with just 11, and strikeouts with just 70. I mean, you gotta like something about that, right? All in all, Iglesias is kind of a 260, 250 hitter, but not bad. Not bad. And as I mentioned, really good glove. At just $3 million, I know this is the Orioles, and things don't really matter. But if anything, it's a trade chip, and it'll keep them at least slightly competitive next season, maybe. It's a small but meaningful addition to a team that's had a kind of a weird, low-key offseason. They traded away Jonathan Villar. I feel like they could have gotten more for him. But they also managed to swing Dylan Bundy for 4 prospects. So that's something. For a team that finished with the second worst record in the majors last season. Just not a lot to get excited about other than Iglesias. They got Trey Mancini and no one else in the lineup who I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's not bad, or I've heard of this guy. And just to clean up with a few more deals, the Rays actually made another trade besides the Liberatore-Martinez deal. They called the Houston Astros and were like, hey, do you guys want a reliever? And they said okay. And so they shipped right-hander Austin Pruitt over to Houston in exchange for 2 low-level prospects. So Pruitt, he's 30 years old. He's got 5 more years of team control. The past 3 seasons, he's thrown just under 200 innings, 4.87 ERA, 4.17 FIP, and a 1.362 WHIP. Not great. He's kind of a back end of the bullpen depth option, which I guess is what the Astros were looking for. And they didn't have to part with a whole lot for him. Neither of the prospects the Rays received are in the Astros organizational top 30. Who they got, if you're wondering, outfielder Cal Stevenson, a 23-year-old left-handed hitter, a good contact hitter, at least going by his minor league numbers, as high as Class A+. And they also got a right-handed pitcher named Peyton Battenfield, 22-year-old, who did well at low A last season. So I guess the Rays will be watching how these guys develop, replenishing the farm system a little bit after parting with a couple of their prospects with the Cardinals. And the Pittsburgh Pirates did something I really did not expect. They added an outfielder, Guillermo Heredia, on a 1-year, $1 million contract. And I should add he's also controllable via arbitration for 3 years from here on out. Heredia is a 4-year veteran. His career batting average is .240. His on base is .317. His OPS plus is 82. 2019 with the Rays was not very good. 89 games, 18 extra base hits, .225 batting, .306 on base. In terms of defense, he is considered an above-average corner outfielder, though he can also play center. Again, just kind of a weird move for the Pirates. One thing that's been swirling around is Starling Marte. Is he going to get traded or not? I'm not saying this move precludes a Marte trade, but it does add some contingency options, some depth to the Pirates as far as their outfielders go. Other than that, I don't expect Heredia to get a lot of playing time. The Pirates outfield actually looks solid with Marte, Gregory Polanco, and Brian Reynolds was coming off a really good rookie season. And then just a couple of minor league deals I wanted to touch on. The Brewers added another player. Oh my goodness. Logan Morrison, first baseman / outfielder. Definitely a depth piece because Morrison's been struggling a lot the last couple seasons. 124 games over the last 2 years, sub 200 batting average, and a 650 OPS. It was an okay bat before that, but I wouldn't be super excited about Logan Morrison. The Rays have a somewhat loaded roster as far as position players go, and the Yankees added another backup catcher candidate in Kris Bryant. He'll be 36 years old. He's a 14-year veteran where he owns a .230 career batting average and a .345 on base, 98 OPS plus, so not a bad hitter, and a really good on-base guy. Gets a lot of walks. He's considered a good framer, but historically his defensive metrics have not been very good. They have Gary Sanchez over there at catcher, but the Yankees' backup catcher now seems to be a competition going into spring training. Got Iannetta, Eric Kratz, who they also added, and Kyle Higashioka. So who will replace Austin Romine? We shall see. And one final minor league deal, the final hot stove move at all I wanted to mention, and it's a perfect segue over to CUBSCAST, because the Cubs signed another minor league position player, not a pitcher, which is what we need, another position player, Carlos Asuaje. Welcome to the Cubs, Carlos. All right, who is this guy? He's a 28-year-old. He's come and gone through the majors since 2016. He bats from the left side. He's an infielder. 175 career major league games. 240 batter. 312 on base. 329 slugger. Asuaje has failed to do a whole lot in AAA or in Korea. Yeah, I really don't care much for this deal. We have enough of these guys, don't we? Maybe this is a good news for Iowa. The iCubs will surely welcome Carlos Asuaje to the team. Yeah, not super excited. Well, the Cubs were active in another aspect, and that is settling before arbitration. A lot of teams have been doing this past week. I think there was some sort of negotiation window opened up. A lot of teams have come to terms with arbitration-eligible players. The Cubs did so with two of theirs. Albert Almora, who's going to earn $1.575 million next year, and Kris Bryant, $18.5 million salary in 2020, which is about what he was expected to make, so no shockers there. But Kris Bryant, oh my. Well, there's some good news coming out of that whole situation. Kenny Rosenthal reports that apparently Bryant's grieving case is going to be a nay. Major League Baseball is going to say, nope, you're staying with the Cubbies for 2 more years. That's great. That's great, because if that's the case, and I should reiterate that this has not been a final decision yet, this is just what Rosie has been saying he's heard. You know he's in the woodwork. You know he's sneaking around the halls of power. No one can see him because he's 5 feet tall. I love Ken Rosenthal. I love him. He's such a happy guy. You see him on the broadcast. He's always smiling. He's got a little bow tie. He just gets to watch baseball games front row and write about baseball. It's great. But anyway, if this is the case ultimately, then that means Bryant preserves some of his trade value. And in regards to that trade value, once again, rival executives are speaking on the Cubs. And please correct me if this is the case with other teams, because I don't in-depth follow other teams other than the Cubs. But I feel like this offseason in particular, other executives are anonymously going out there and slandering our Cubby Bears. I don't want to do a whole prosecution complex victimhood thing here, but if you go back to when the Cubs were shopping some of their core players and rival executives were saying, oh, they're manic, they're aggressive, they're being obvious. Now they're saying the Cubs are being obscene, quote, obscene in their asking price for Wilson Contreras. And they also said Kris Bryant asking price was, quote, a joke. A fucking joke. You know what? I'd rather Epstein & Co. highball these offers than lowball them. I don't want to give up any of these guys for anything other than what they're asking for now. There's more to this if you read the news articles. But about what these executives were saying. Essentially, they're saying, oh, they're not worth these multiple impact pieces. I like to think they are. Or at least I like the fact the front office is pushing so hard with this. If we have to settle, we have to settle. And if they feel that they're not selling for anything less, then we're not selling for anything less. And that would be a little disappointing because of all this talk about things need to change and we need to retool this roster. But I think really the worst situation would be if we part with Bryant or Contreras or anybody else for not very much. That would suck more than keeping these guys around and hoping they continue to play well and maybe even improve in 2020 and beyond. Those executives were also talking about Kris Bryant's value in general. They said they don't expect a $30 million a year deal when he does hit free agency. They're not as high on him as Boras and Bryant are high on themselves. So maybe he's not going to get that Arenado type deal. Maybe this will encourage him to accept a contract extension with the Cubs. Who knows? Who knows? But things aren't looking so bright for Bryant, with other teams saying he's regressing as a player. I mean, he won an MVP in his second year. Like, how do you continuously improve on that? And he's still been like a 280 hitter since then. I mean, not fantastic, but he's still a good player. Anyway, this is all for the future. Speaking of the near future, as I mentioned, a lot of teams are settling. Mookie Betts is going to get paid $27 million next season, a new arbitration record. Wow. The Brewers gave an extension to their manager, Craig Counsell. He's going to be around another 4 years. The right move, I think, for Milwaukee. He's done wonders with this roster. He clearly motivates these guys to win. He's done a lot with not a whole lot in some aspects, like their pitching. I feel bad for Counsell a little bit, just a little bit, because the front office has not done him a lot of favors, especially this past offseason. He's going to have a bit of a different roster to work with next year, but I'm sure he'll do it. I think this 4-year commitment does show that the Brewers are looking to win at some point, or at least hoping to. We'll see what they can actually do. And finally, cheating. Apparently the Boston Red Sox were also doing some sort of cheating, Stein stealing voodoo. So apparently Major League Baseball's investigation into the Astros cheating is in its, quote, final stages. The commish, Bobby Manfred, said that in the next 2 weeks, they should come to a decision on what the punishment for the Astros will be. Will they vacate 2017? I don't know. But apparently, in the process of this report, they found out the Red Sox in 2018 were also using the video replay room to steal signs. Now, what this exactly means is not super clear, because what this could mean at its most basic level is they were simply using the video replay room to watch replays, but not replays of plays they intended to challenge, but just watching it in general, looking for signs and then decoding those signs. So not as quote-unquote serious as the Astros, who were using an outfield camera, like its own camera that was not part of the MLB's system, because all teams have a video replay room. The Astros had their own system set up, and plus the old trash can banging to tell their batters what pitch was coming. You might remember back in 2017, the Yankees raised ire. They raised an alarm saying, "Oh, the Red Sox are using an Apple Watch to steal signs." Welcome to the 21st century of baseball, right? And there's been some chatter that basically a bunch of other teams are doing the same thing. They're using the video replay room to try and steal signs. They're just trying to steal signs in general. And you know what? That's part of baseball. Trying to decode signs is part of baseball, whether you like it or not. They've been doing this forever. That sort of paranoia has been around forever. I think there is a sort of a line that the Astros crossed in installing their own system I don't know how the MLB is going to police this. Are we going to have like some next level Overwatch surveillance from the league? But yeah, I'm interested to see what comes of this whole investigation, what gets revealed. I know that the Dodgers are going to be, or Dodgers fans are going to be, oh, we lost against two cheaters in the World Series in back-to-back years. We should get both titles. Some bullshit like that. No, you're chokers. Clayton Kershaw is a choker. You didn't win those World Series. I'm sorry. That's the fact. And I wanted to add with the interesting or cool baseball thing I came across this past week. So, Garrison Lassiter. You've probably never heard of him. He used to be a prospect in the Yankees system, and he filed a $34 million lawsuit against the Yankees for his lack of success. So, Lassiter was a 27th round pick, never played above Class A advanced, did not hit very well at that level. He was suing the Yankees for, quote, interference and lost years of his baseball careers. Apparently he had to live in his car after spending the $675,000 signing bonus the Yankees gave him. He said he could not get on the field due to the Yankees trying to control his career. He also sued the Reds, another organization he played with, for $1.6 million. He also sued a training complex in North Carolina because apparently he was trying to get into the NFL. Was told by that facility that they can get him an NFL tryout, and then he didn't. According to his former manager at High A, Lassiter was okay offensively and below average overall, and that manager added a little more detail also, just shedding some light on the insanity. Garrison, what the hell? Dude, maybe you just weren't that good. He particularly blamed Derek Jeter. He said it was blatantly obvious that Jeter was pulling the strings within the Yankees organization. I'm reading this for the first time. Like, I literally saw this headline when I was trying to get some more information on the Red Sox cheating scandal, and I saw this headline on Bleacher Report, and I'm like, I need to freaking read this. This is... Oh man, I'm hopeful for this guy's like mental health, because clearly he's a little paranoid. Maybe he's been smoking too much weed, or maybe that's just how he was born. Yeah, Derek Jeter pulling the strings. I actually would not be surprised. I feel like Jeter has a lot of clout. Let's not forget the Retupect movement, like when he was retiring and the entire league was just on his dick for the whole season, or the fact he bought the Marlins, facilitated a trade of Giancarlo Stanton to the Yankees, and then just completely blew up what was a good Marlins team. I'm not saying I believe in Garrison Lassiter's stories, because there's a lot about this that point to the fact that the dude's just he's a little delusional. I don't trust Jeets. I don't trust him. He's been with a few too many women too. I mean, like, he has a nice facade, but he's what's the word I'm looking for? Lawful evil. That's what I'm looking for. Lawful evil. Derek Jeter. But yeah, Stoveminders, keep watching that stove. There's still more to come. There's still some really good players who have not been signed. Donaldson, of course, but where's Puig gonna go? Where's Ozuna gonna go? Nicholas Castellanos, where's he gonna go? We don't know, but we will know in the next couple months, hopefully. Hopefully we won't see a repeat of last year where these guys did not get signed until like June and stuff. That was bullshit. But for now, stay dry, stay warm, stay vigilant.